Hey guys, welcome back to Nick's Video Game Collecting Show. Today we're going to take a look at 3 strategy guides that came out very early in the NES's life cycle. So we're going to talk about where I got these guides, what's in them, and how I've used them over the years. So starting first, I want to talk about the official Nintendo Player's Guide. I've actually got 2 copies of this, both in decent condition, more or less completely intact. There's a little bit of a rip on the spine here. And unfortunately, neither version I have has the stickers that were included with the guide itself. But still, pretty good shape, both of these guys. And I don't remember where I got the second one, but I did get the first one at the Rainham Taunton Flea Market back when I first started collecting NES games back in about 1997. And this is a really cool guide. This goes through every single game that was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System up to this point. So there's really kind of 2 sections. So the first section that you can see here is up at the top. You can see real kind of more in-depth guides for a variety of games. Some of the major hits. So you've got like The Legend of Zelda, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Super Mario Brothers, Ghosts and Goblins, Metroid, Zelda 2 even, Donkey Kong, Goonies 2. And then you've got kind of another section that really has just a real, short synopsis of every game, like I said, that had been released at that point. You see Chubby Cherub there, terrible game. Pretty rare I've got a copy, but yeah, it just kind of stinks. Like I said, I got this guide about 20 or so years ago now, maybe even a little bit longer ago. And it was something that I had always really been looking for when I was a kid, and I had never actually gotten a copy. I did get a copy of the official Nintendo sticker album, which looked very similar. I think, more or less the same cover. If not, it might have just been a photo of Rob with the same type of text. I got that actually, I think, before I got my NES from a friend of my mother's for Christmas one year. So using this guide, it's pretty good, pretty in-depth. I've actually used the guide for Metroid before to beat Metroid on NES the first time I ever beat it. And then more recently, I actually used the guide for Goonies 2, which I think this is really about the only way you can easily beat that game. You see, it's got an outline of all the different weapons, all the different items. It's got a map. It's got kind of the guides through the first-person sections. Goonies 2 is a really obtuse game. Difficult to figure out kind of where you're going. The map has both a front and back. That makes it difficult to figure out where you need to be going at any time. And I actually got right to the end of the game, probably 6 or 7 years ago, using this guide. Unfortunately, right before I got to the end, the NES crapped out on me. Or really the cartridge crapped out on me. So had to, I would have had to start over, but at that point I was so close to the end of the game, I think I had probably a minute or so to go, that I just never made another attempt again. I think I watched the ending on YouTube. But yeah, really like this guide. It's a great one. Probably one of the best guides for the system. At least it gives you a good overview of kind of what things were like at that stage in the NES's life cycle in about 1987, 1988. You see Zelda 2 in here, so I think it's around that time frame. It might actually have came out before Zelda 2 actually reached the States. Next we have Zelda Tips and Tactics. This is a kind of digest-sized guide. I actually had a copy of this when I was, probably in junior high, in elementary school, that I actually used to beat the game for the first time when I was a kid. I ended up giving it to the daughter of one of my mother's friends, and I never saw it again until I bought it again many, many years later. Really good, really detailed guide, some great art in there, complete walkthrough of the game. I think it maybe even has some tips for the second quest. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, it's really great. And I always really liked this art in the back, talking about what happens on the new adventure. It looks like it's kind of made out of clay, like some of the other Nintendo art that they used. But great guide. And actually, I bought this copy a couple years ago. And always fun to find some art from the previous owner. You actually see somebody wrote north, west, south, west right here. We all know that that's the way to get through the Lost Woods in the game. Kind of an odd place to make that note on the back cover, but and I mean, why not write it on the map here, the fold-out map? But you know, I think that type of stuff on these older guides and games and other collectibles really add some character to them. So, really cool guide. I like the gold and the art in there, which is kind of anime styled. Really recommend you pick this up if you can find it. And then lastly, the How to Win at Super Mario Brothers. You see, this is the #1 bestseller in Japan, and I don't doubt that. But I looked for this for many years. You know, I wanted to order it, never got it. And about 2 or 3 years ago, my wife and I kind of drove around all the various video game stores in Massachusetts for my birthday. That's what I wanted to do, to just kind of pick up some games for my collection. And at Sudden Impact in Winthrop, Massachusetts, I walked in and this was sitting on the counter. He had just taken it in as a trade-in, and I said, like, I've got to get that. It was a very good birthday trip. I actually got some other games that I've been looking for a long time on that trip. But this was a great pickup. So what I like about this is it's a complete walkthrough of Super Mario Brothers, but it's got some of the early Mario art, which I really like. If you look here, you see King Bowser, and he's gray. The old Japanese art that they were utilizing, I think it might even be on the cover of the cartridge for the Famicom version. You got some other interesting art there. Look at that version of Mario. You've got an early version of a Koopa Troopa right there. Looks more like a cross between, I guess, a duck and a turtle. Really kind of interesting. I like to see this type of stuff because I think the new 3D Mario art is really kind of generic, and it's not that appealing to me. I hope at some point they kind of go back to the drawn art for Mario, kind of maybe redesign him, similar to how Disney's done with Mickey Mouse in recent years. There's one other picture I wanted to show you in here. Look at this. Look at Princess Toadstool there. She looks ridiculous, but really interesting to take a look at this, and it's got a good illustrated story of Super Mario Brothers, which you just don't see anymore. So, you know, if you need this guide, it goes through every single stage of Super Mario Brothers. Gives you the map for the World 4-4 and 8-4 for the castle to get through, because those are kind of mazes as opposed to the other castles in the game. A pro tip from me: if you get to 8-4, the path you're supposed to take is always the first one right after the lava. That way you'll get right through the castle and you'll get to Bowser, and hopefully you got the fireball and you can just kill him pretty easily. Someday, hopefully, we'll do maybe a walkthrough of the original Mario Brothers. I can beat that in about 10 minutes using the warp pipes. So, just another cool guide. But I really think the stuff that Nintendo of America was putting out very early in the NES life cycle, it's really fun to look at. Really detailed. They always did a great job. Later on, this stuff would kind of become more standardized. You have standard art. But a lot of this stuff was based on Japanese guides. So looks a little weird compared to what you're used to. But I highly recommend, if you run into any of these guides, pick them up. They're a great relic from the NES era and really fun to look at. And I really seem to enjoy them. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments below. And also, please subscribe. But thanks, guys, and see you next time.